Rashid's EX Whirlwind shot pressure is his primary way of locking down the opponent and forcing his oppressive gameplay. So here are some quick tips on how to deal with EX Whirlwind shot pressure. The first thing you want to be aware of is what normals do Rashid players like to use to set up this pressure. Typically they are stand medium punch, forward medium punch, and crouching hard punch. Being aware of these normals is going to give you a tell sign so you can have the option of how to deal with this pressure already in the back of your mind when fighting this character. So now that we have established what to look for, what do you do to stop this pressure? Well, it's quite simple. You're going to be using a projectile invincible move or an EXDP. Now if your character doesn't have an EXDP or a projectile invincible move, it's okay because you still have an option. When Rashid cancels his pressure off his normals, he is left vulnerable and you can match him out with either a 3 to 4 frame normal. This is going to be the best option you want to do if you want to maximize your punish on the situation. If you found this tip helpful, why don't you consider giving this video a like and also subscribing to my channel for more SF5 tips and tricks. Don't feel like dealing with Akuma's plus frames after blocking his EX Red Fireball? Well, here's how to deal with it. The primary way that Akuma players like to do his EX Red Fireball is off his stand medium kick. That's what we're going to be focusing on how to deal with. The easiest way to deal with this situation is just to use a projectile invincible move or defensible DP. Now there is an option that's more difficult, but it's an option that will net you the biggest reward. Stand medium kick in the EX Red Fireball has a gap of 6 frames, so you can punish it by interrupting it with a normal that is 5 frames or less. Balrog making you guess between high or low after EX straight? Well, let's learn how to stop it. Balrog, when he cancels his EX straight in the V skill, is left at -2. Since Balrog is left at -2, you can check him with either a 3 or 4 frame normal. This option will beat the overhead cleanly, or will also counter hit him if he does the low. Bison stand fierce and the psychopath giving you trouble, but let's learn how to deal with it. The first thing you want to know about Bison Psycho Blast is that there are 3 different strengths. Since there are 3 different versions, each version is going to determine the options you have at your disposal to deal with the cancel. If Bison chooses to cancel Stand Heavy Punch and their Light Punch Blast, it is uninterruptible because it's a true block string. Now if Bison chooses to cancel Stand Heavy Punch and the Medium Punch Blast, there's a gap of about 1 to 2 frames, and so you can interrupt it with a projectile invincible normal or an EXDP. Finally, if Bison chooses to cancel Stand Heavy Punch and the Heavy Punch Blast, the gap is about 5 frames. Since the gap is much bigger, you have a couple different options you can use to interrupt Stand Heavy Punch and the H Punch Blast. Now you can choose to use the same options that you use to deal with the Medium Punch Blast, or you can go a little bit more optimal and interrupt it with a 3 to 4 frame normal. Fang locked you down with the Stand Hard Punch in the cloud? Well, let's learn how to stop it. Fang Stand Hard Punch in the cloud has a variable frame gap depending on where you block the Stand Hard Punch. If you block the Stand Hard Punch up close, your options for dealing with the cancels are projectile invincible normals and an EXDP. If you block the Stand Hard Punch from further away, you get additional punishes, which means you can check it with either a 3 or 4 frame normal. Colleen bullying you with their Stand Heavy Punch in the EXhale? Well, let's learn how to stop her. Colleen's Stand Heavy Punch in the EXhale leaves her at -8 on block, so you want to punish it with the 8 frame or less move that has projectile invincibility or regular invincibility. Now there is a more optimal way to punish the situation with the normal canceled to a special move, but that normal and special move combination that you're going to be using is going to depend on your character. Akira making you take plus frames after Stand Heavy Punch and the Heavy Punch Kokai? Well, let's learn how to stop her. Akira Stand Heavy Punch in the HP Kokai has a gap of about 7 frames, which means that you can interrupt it with a 6 frame or less normal. Although you can interrupt this situation with the normal, it does come with a risk because Akira could just cancel in the Medium Punch Kokai and counter hit you instead. So with that in mind, there are options you can use where you don't have to deal with the mix-up between the Medium Punch and the Heavy Punch Kokai. They are using a projectile invincible normal / EXDP or using V-Shift and the V-Break. Abigail putting you in the EX Vroom Vroom Blender after the Stand Medium Punch or Crouching Medium Kick? Well, let's learn how to stop them. When Abigail cancels EX Nitro Run off a Crouching Medium Kick, you can just jump forward to avoid all of his Nitro Run follow-ups. After the jump forward, you can punish every one of Abigail's EX Nitro Run follow-ups with a dash-in combo, except the stomp and the overhead because they push him too far away. Now let's talk about how to deal with the Stand Medium Punch and the EX Run cancel. Now dealing with this is a little bit more trickier because the jump forward tech is punishable if Abigail decides to do the Run Punch. So you're going to have to employ something a little bit more different depending on your character. If your character has a multi-hitting DP, you don't have to worry about this. You can just use your DP and it will beat all the options. If your character doesn't have a multi-hitting DP, you're going to have to rely on reading the Abigail and employing 2 different options. Those 2 options are neutral jump, which will beat the throw, the stomp, and the parry, and high blocking, which will beat the overhead and the run punch. Laura locking you down with push frames after Stand Heavy Punch in the EX Thunderclap? Well, let's learn how to stop her. Lower sudden heavy punch in the EX thunderclap has a gap that can be punished by a projectile invincible move or an EX DP. Now if your character doesn't have either one of these, don't worry, you still have options to deal with the situation. You can use either V reversal or V shift in the V break. Ibuki mixing you up with her medium punch into medium kick command dash. Well, let's learn how to stop her. Ibuki's crouch and medium punch into medium kick command dash is -9 on block. Since this situation is -9 on block, you have a couple of different ways you can punish it. You can punish it with the throw, which is the easy way to punish it, or you can get a full combo convert by punishing it with the normal, that's 8 frames or less.